Hi, I'm Whitney Allison. Welcome to Bike Sports TV Garage. Today we're learning how to pack a bike into a cardboard box for shipping or airport travel. To get your cardboard box, I suggest contacting your local bike shop where often they'll give them to you for free. I suggest bringing a 6-pack or a tasty treat in exchange for the bike box. Thanks, Brave New Wheel, Johnny Puntowny. So back when I raced on the road for Colavita Bianchi pro cycling team, we would travel a lot with our bikes, especially for criteriums, and so we would have to build and tear down our bikes in hotel rooms. So this is definitely one of my party tricks. So the theme for today is all about cozy, the word cozy. We're going to make sure that our bike is very cozy for travel, whether it's being shipped via something like bike flights or going on an airplane. It's all about those touch points and making sure that our bike makes it to our final destination in one piece. Packing your bike in a cardboard box is a little bit more equipment intensive, but the highlight of that is that it's a lot of things that you find around your house. I like to collect little bits of bubble wrap that I get from other packages, some of those little air pocket things. I have some random tubing here. We'll also need a couple pieces of cardboard as well as different types of tape. So today here I have masking tape, I have packing tape, and electrical tape as well. We'll also want to have a small bag for small parts. When we're looking for a cardboard box to ship our bike in, there are many different types, obviously, because there's many different types of bikes. In the ideal world, you can get a bike box that is large enough to keep your rear wheel on. That just helps to protect your derailleur and your derailleur hanger. If you can't find that, that's okay. But for example, if you're trying to ship a gravel bike and you get a fat bike box for a giant man, it's going to be much larger than your average gravel bike box. Step one, we're going to remove our pedals. So we're now going to take off our pedals. Today I'm using a multi-tool. The last video that we did on an integrated bike box, I used a torque wrench from Feedback. I'm just using the multi-tool here for some variety to show you what is possible. Step two, we're going to remove our seat post, our handlebars, and our stem. It's just a lot easier to do that when the wheels are still on. Let's mark our seat post with electrical tape so that we know exactly where to put our seat post when we get to our final destination. Let's take off the seat post. Lefty loosey, righty tighty. And you don't need to take that bolt out all the way. And this one has electronic shifting, so we're just gonna unplug this guy. And if you had electronic shifting like this, I would also recommend using a piece of electrical tape to go ahead and tape it to the side. All right, so now we're gonna take off our handlebar and stem combo, and we're gonna start with this top cap bolt here, and then move to the stem bolts. It's a good idea to know what your stack is. Your stack is the spacers that are above or below your stem. These stem bolts you don't need to take off all the way, just to loosen enough to get it up. And I do recommend putting the top back on. It doesn't need to be super tight, but it should be tight enough that even if it gets rattled in travel, it won't come out. Things look totally chaotic, but we're almost there. One of the last steps, we're going to take our wheels off. So the bike without the wheels on, obviously that's a lot of touch points on the ground, so we're going to use a lot of care as we put it on the ground and get it ready to ship. Step 4, we're gonna wrap our frame in our packing material. So now it's time to get our frame all cozy and ready for its journey. I like to use masking tape for this because it's really easily reusable for your journey back home. So I just have some foam pipe. I've also used bubble wrap. Sometimes there's cardboard tubing. The main purpose of this packing material is just to prevent things from touching each other and causing scratches or damage. So I definitely took the rear wheel off earlier because I forgot that this bike box is actually big enough to keep the rear wheel on, which is awesome. Just makes it a lot easier and it helps protect that derailleur hanger. Step 5, we're gonna put our frame in the box, followed by the wheels, and we're going to be looking for friction points. All right, it's time to put our bike in the box and let's make a little cozy home for it. So it can be a little bit of a pain trying to get everything in the box, and especially in regards to like our handlebars. It kind of depends on your cable lengths, on your bar width, all that sort of stuff. Just have some patience. What we're looking for is trying to make sure that the bike is pretty cozy in there. There's not a lot of wiggle room. That way when it is moved about in shipping, things are not starting to touch. So by no means necessary. You can also sometimes get these little wheel protectors. They come when bikes are shipped to bike shops. They kind of go on the end of the wheels here, and that is to prevent the skewer from poking through the side of the box. You could also use other materials that you find at home. I kind of love how shipping in a cardboard box is a little bit of rummaging around your house for things. All right, it's time to put in our front wheel. I like using extra cardboard. It's just cheap, easy, and everywhere. So we're gonna use this as a barrier between our bike frame and our front wheel. So step 6, we're gonna add any of our small parts that we've taken off our bike, along with any extras we wanna add for our journey. So our skewers, if you have traditional skewers versus through axle, your pedals, your multi-tool, any other extras that you're planning on bringing on your journey, as well as your 3 different types of tape. And so what we're really looking for here is that if the bike box gets dumped upside down or whatever, it's not gonna cause any damage to anything else in the bike box. So for your extras like race food or bike cleaning materials, if I'm flying with my bike, I would probably stuff some of these extras into my bike box because that's usually a flat fee from the airlines. But if I was shipping via ground, like bike flights or something like that, I would probably put these in my checked luggage instead because you usually pay by weight. The final step, we're gonna do all the tapes. We're gonna make sure that we have tape packed for our journey home later on, as well as tape up our box for our travels. So if you're flying with your bike, TSA is gonna open it up no matter how you tape it, so I wouldn't stress too much about super taping it shut for that. But if you are shipping your bike via something like bike flights, I do recommend spending some extra time and extra tape getting it all snug. All right, it's time for this bike to go out to the shuttle company. All right, so our flight was on time. We got our bike from the oversized baggage. Everything looks good. It's time to rebuild and ride. Step 1. We're going to go ahead and remove our front wheel and rear wheel if that is your specific circumstance, and then remove our frame. Step 2, we're going to pull our frame out of the box and go ahead and attach the wheels even though the rest of the bike is not assembled. So I like to have my wheel ready to go and to be reattached to the frame, and then kind of go from there and reassemble everything else. Step 3, we're going to put our seat post back on as well as our handlebars. All right, seat post. Oh, I forgot I tightened the bolt. All right, so now we're adding our seat post back. It's really easy since we have that electrical tape. We know exactly where it needs to go. Again, this is another really great bolt for a torque wrench because you don't want to over tighten this. Step 4, we're going to reattach our pedals and then check all of our bolts. So now we're going to reattach our handlebars. A good way to think about the handlebar bolts, because there's so many of them, is we want the top one to be firm but not super duper tightened, and then the sides, and then finish again with the top. The top one just kind of compresses everything, and the side ones hold it straight. Kind of use my knees to make sure everything's straight. And finish, do the sides. This is where a torque wrench can be really handy because you can make sure that everything is torqued to spec. Step 4, we're going to reattach our pedals and do a safety check. So last but not least, we are putting our pedals back on. The last step is actually a safety check to make sure your bolts are tight. It's really important that when using carbon parts that you use a torque wrench to make sure that you don't over tighten bolts. Over tighten your carbon parts, they can become pinched and break. So a torque wrench tells you what you are torquing to, and the different parts that you are trying to torque will also tell you what they want to be torqued to. This is torquing, not twerking. Twerking your parts does indeed void the warranty. All right, safe travels. Wishing you the best on your next bike journey now that you know how to pack your bike in a cardboard box. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Bike Sports TV Garage for more episodes like this. Cheers.